Woohoo! We're back. Three turn three. We had last week off because there was lots going on. I'm skating PJ, otherwise known as PJ Kwong. I'm here with Mazin Thomas, and we are a person down. Charlene Bailey, the three in three turn three, is not feeling all that well today. So, best wishes, Charlene. Feel better soon.
Feel better.
How was your week off, Maz?
It was really good. Thanks, sweetheart. How are you doing? You look great.
Thank you very much. Well, you know what? This is going to be a fantastic show. We're going to bookend it with Worlds, the Worlds in Saitama, Japan that just happened, as well as the Worlds that are coming up this coming weekend, where I am going to Lake Placid, the World Synchronized Skating Championships. And then, of course, there were the Provincial Championships held last weekend in Stratford, Ontario. And last but not least, our skater in residence for Skate Ontario. We're talking about Fiona Bombardier, bronze medalist at the women's championship. It was fantastic. Okay, so I guess I want to know Worlds in Saitama. What did you think, Mazin? And as always, by the way, to our audience, questions, comments, whatever you want to get in, we'd love to hear from you. So just put them in the chat window below and we'll get to as many as possible. Okay, Worlds, Mazin.
Okay, well, let's start at the top. Let's start at the top with Piper and Paul earning a bronze medal at Worlds. Do you know what? Two amazing skates for them. Like, so happy for them. Skate Ontario proud, Canadian proud. Good for them. I watched them and I had a sense of comfort. I had a sense of just relaxation and just getting myself into their programs that they just did so well. Piper and Paul, congratulations. Bronze medal at World Figure Skating Championships. How amazing is that for them?
I think so too. You know what was the other event that was kind of interesting to me was the pairs event. What did
Oh,
you think?
okay, well, first of all, let's get into the fact that we had two teams representing Skate Ontario, Leah and Trent, and Brooke and Ben. And honestly and truly, they did themselves proud. They did Skate Ontario proud. They did Canada proud. Honestly and truly, for both of those teams, it was their first time at the World Championships. And boy, oh boy, they had great skates. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually had season best scores as well, PB scores going into
Yep,
this event
yep.
or at this event. So they were just phenomenal. To talk about both of them first, Brooke and Ben, they did both of their programs so well with such confidence going into their first World Championships. I'm so proud for them. I'm proud for their entire coaching team. And you know what? Just an amazing job for the two of them. And Leah and Trent, what more can I say? But you know what? Watch out, world, because they are on their trajectory and the sky is the limit for the two of them. That's for sure.
You know what's so interesting about the pair event? So Leah Pereira and Trent Michaud, Trent, of course, former partner Evelyn Walsh, decides to skate with Leah this season for the first time, and he actually pegged it. He said, "You know what? We're going to make it to the World Championships." So the fact that they were able to do that in their debut season, I think, is remarkable. And when we turn the corner and we look at Brooke McIntosh and Ben Mimar, what we're looking at is a team who was a junior team last season. So for them to be basically, top 10 in the world, pretty much, for them to end up where they did at the Senior World Championships in their debut, I think is remarkable. So,
Well,
Maz, we had another couple of skaters who represented Ontario. Let's talk about national champion Maddie Skizas.
oh, listen, first and foremost, you know what? I know this young lady, and I'm so happy for her for finishing off this season with that clean, long program skate. Let's talk
Yep.
about it. She made a bobble in the short program. She missed the planned combination jump, and do you know what? She thought on her feet and thought to herself, you know what? I'm not going to let any of this go. Came back with a beautiful triple triple combo in the short program. Did her very best, with what was going on, came back with the free program, decided to go to last year's, Madam Butterfly free program because she realized, you know what, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable with this program than the West Side Story program that hasn't necessarily, kind of worked out for her this season. And what does she do, Peach? She skates it perfectly clean and flawless. So
Yep.
Good for her. So proud for her. She's got to just be feeling great. She's going off to, the team trophy back to Japan in just a couple of weeks to compete again. So she's got a quick turnaround. So good for her. And in the men's
Matt,
event, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, put on your coaching hat for 5 seconds. That kind of performance in that free program, you know, how does that factor in to a skater's sort of mindset?
Well, you know what? I think it factors into the positive, to the plus, to the excitement, to the adrenaline, to the enthusiasm of just wanting to continue and to just keep going, and knowing deep down in your gut, you know that you're capable of doing all of these tricks. You know that you've got the ability to go out there to perform and to do all of these tricks and to lay it down at the world championships the way that she did. What more can one say? Except, you know what? I hope for her this gives her that much more confidence, continuing with her skating and continuing with skating in Canada, because it's on the upswing. Boy, oh boy, it's on the upswing.
You know what? Here's a great comment from Unseen Skaters. Maddie was awesome in the free skate. Bringing back Madam Butterfly was a smart move. Do you know what, Unseen Skaters? We agree. So let's move on to Conrad Orzel, his first trip to Worlds.
Listen, I mean, what happened to this young man just before Worlds?
Excuse me.
He had boot issues just before leaving for Japan. While in Japan, he had more boot issues with having to change blades. And I'm not sure if a lot of people noticed, but when he competed his short program, his blades were actually two different colors, which makes you think, okay, there's two different blades out there on that ice. And what does the guy go and do? He does a beautiful quad double combination and a beautiful triple axel. He makes a bobble going into his isolated quad jump. But you know what? Nonetheless, great effort, great job with everything that he had to kind of persevere at his first Worlds. And I think it's just going to just make him stronger. What do you think?
I think I think so too. So congratulations to all the athletes who've come from Ontario. We are Skate Ontario proud of you, that's for sure. Do you know who else we're Skate Ontario proud of? Fiona Bombardier. We're going to be talking to her in just a few minutes, but I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about the Skate Ontario Provincial Championships that happened in Stratford this past weekend. If you were there, you may have seen me running around, talking to people, videos, photos. Go to our Facebook page. And I think that we have an album put up there. I think we do. And you can relive all of the content that we had. Also, our Instagram feed, um, even on Twitter. It would be a whole lot of fun. So, congratulations to the 914 athletes. Can you imagine? Who qualified for the Skate Ontario Provincial Championships in 54 events. Mazin, you've been to provincials before. What does that event mean to the skaters?
Do you know what? That's their pinnacle. I mean, where some competitive skaters, work towards competing at the national championships, for a province the size of Ontario, honestly and truly, that's those kids' national championships. That's what they're working so hard to get to qualify for, and to, hopefully, fingers crossed, have the skate of their life. So good for them, good for their coaches, good for their families. Thank you, Stratford, for hosting. So that's great.
Yeah, they did a great job. They did a great job. And there was synchro, there was women's singles, men's singles, pairs, and dance. It was a very busy weekend. So, congratulations to everybody. Just before we move on, I want to remind everybody that the World Synchronized Skating Championships are coming up this coming weekend. What do you mean? Like one more sleep and it happens. I'm going to Lake Placid. So I'm going to send a couple of pictures to my pal Harpreet of things that I see. I am so excited to be sitting in the Nexus section. That's where my friend bought our tickets. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun and it's going to be fantastic. So, defending champions Les Supreme, also of Canada. Nexus has 2 world titles to its credit. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend of skating. I cannot wait. You know what else I can't wait for, Mazin?
Get ready.
Fiona Bombardier.
Yes,
Anything
you
you
know
want to
what?
talk about? Yeah.
Listen, how happy are we that she's found the time to be able to talk to us this morning. So, as we said at the top of the show, Canadian bronze medalist, Fiona Bombardier. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are
That's
you guys?
We are so grateful that you took the time to be able to, to chat with us this afternoon. And I'm just going to get right into it. So, how are things going? I understand that there's been a change in your training locations right now. So, tell us a little bit about that and how things are going right now with your skating.
So right now it's my off season. So the training has gone down just a little bit, and I'm at a new training center. I'm at the Skate Oakville Club. I moved a couple weeks after nationals. I like to do a little shout out to Ken and Danielle Rose. Thank you so much because I love them and they really did some great work with me. I just thought it was time for a little change of environment and see what else it can bring. So yeah, so now I'm under Bruno Marcotte, Raul Leblanc, and Lisa Vellanosi that coach me.
Great. Good for you.
I want to also say that Fiona, I forgot to mention, Mazin, Fiona is our skater in residence. Her first blog is fantastic. Look for it on our website. You can look for it also on social media, and it will point you to the website. She talks about her journey at from the start of the season to that bronze medal at nationals. So check it out. She's got another blog coming in a little bit, but we are so excited to have you as our skater in residence.
Thank you for having me.
That's great. Now, listen, did I hear a little rumor that we have a little bit of a headache going on, a little concussion? What happened? Are you all right?
Yes. Yeah, I was preparing for the Luxembourg competition, the Coupe du Printemps. And during one of my programs on a jump that I can normally do, it's always the easier things that you hurt yourself on because you're not thinking too much. I fell and I did hit my head. So I got a concussion. It's been a couple weeks now. I'm feeling a lot better. I've done some treatment. I've run some tests and everything seems to be going in the right directions. So yeah, I'm back at it though. I'm back on the ice training. 3 sessions a day, still less jumping, but I'm allowed to do triples, and so that's exciting again.
Good.
I have a question, Maz, if I can jump in. I want to know, they put that bronze medal around your neck way back when you were putting your programs together. Did you imagine that that was a possibility? I mean, when I saw you won the challenge event on your way to nationals, but you're a very young skater still with lots of future ahead of you. So, what did that feel like?
It was really exciting. After challenge, it kind of gave me a boost of confidence, and I'm like, okay, so I'm actually a contender. Like I could do this. And of course, before nationals, I feel like we all skate not that well, and that was a little time where I was like, oh gosh, okay. So, and I was doubting myself. But then when I got at nationals, I started to relax, a couple practices in, and I still felt good about myself in my training. And so I knew that it was a possibility. So yeah, I
That's
felt
great.
good.
Now, okay, so tell everybody that's watching and listening, what does it feel like to have that medal placed around your neck? And moving forward, what does it do for you with your skating, your goals, in this sport?
So of course the goal would be the gold medal. I'm so excited about getting the bronze, and that just gives me like I just want to keep going, and I want to get better and put out some even better programs next year with more difficulty to try to place even better.
That's a great goal. I have a quick question as well. For people who don't know, you come from kind of a famous skating family. I mean, your dad, Jean-Michel Bombardier, a legendary pair skater in his day. Your mom, José Chouinard, Canada's darling. Tell me what it's like. Does that feel like pressure or does that feel like support?
You know what? I don't think it's pressure at all. They put me into the sport because they loved it, and I ended up loving it. If I didn't like it, I would have just stopped, and they would have been okay with that. And it's not like I look back at their programs and try to be like them. No, I'm just trying to do my own thing, creating my own career. And yeah, I'm just doing myself.
Good. That's exactly what you need to do. You need to follow your own path and just do
Mhm.
yourself and be yourself. So when it comes to, legends, as PJ just alluded to, your mom and dad in Canadian history of skating, you know what? Who do you look up to in the world ranks today? Like, who do you admire? What do you kind of strive for when you to take a look at any of those skaters that that you
Mhm.
admire?
I of course admire Kaori Sakamoto just because of the strength and the determination that she has is incredible. Like I think she has the fastest double axel.
Yeah.
It's so impressive, and I hope to put out jumps like that that are just like wow, like you could just rewatch and watch it over again and just be like amazed by it. And now she's back to back world champion, bronze medal at the Olympics. So yeah, I think that's quite the goal.
I would say so too. I mean,
Mhm.
remarkable when you think about it. Are there any other skaters, past, present, or future, that really kind of interest you, whose careers you've sort of taken a look at?
I've for sure taken a look at some careers. I've watched like Yuna Kim or Joanie Rochette, and yeah, they were just beautiful skaters, and I admire them and would love to be one of them one day.
No doubt. No doubt.
I think that can happen there, kiddo. You know what?
I think so
You
too.
keep working hard. I say this often about athletes, and that is being on the right trajectory, and just continuously moving forward. And that's exactly what you're doing. So, you know what?
Thank you.
We thank you so much for taking the time, to be able to chat with us today. And like PJ said, please follow you on social media. And you know what? Thank you so much, Fiona, for taking the time today.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Fiona. We'll see you again. And don't forget to take a look at Fiona's first blog and to keep track of her amazing career. Mazin, what a delightful, delightful young human.
Do you know what? I mean, how great is she? And she's on a great path, and I just wish her all of the luck and the success.
Me too. Well, you know what? Now is the time for my very favorite. What you know what? We're going to see one wonderful comment about Fiona.
Oh,
Hold on. Let's just take a quick look at one of the comments that just came in from Nine Little Miss. Amazing. Great job, Fiona. We think so too. Okay. Our next segment, which you and I both love, called On Thin Ice.
let's get to
On
it.
thin ice.
Where's the scream? The scream was my favorite. Anyway, so we got a great question this week. And that is it's about really this idea that you can only start or stop skating at a certain age. So, does the structure of skating in Ontario and Canada have a blind spot for late bloomers with potential? What do you think?
This question can open up a can of worms, and it can really become quite emotional, because I think what happens in our sport, along with some other sports, is that very often, let's just discuss the ladies' event, first of all, in our sport, that you hope and you pray that these young athletes can achieve triples. And like what we've seen from Russia, for instance, these young athletes doing quads pre puberty, So I just feel like what happens to those skaters that are late bloomers that end up becoming that much stronger, um, and they might not necessarily achieve those double or triple tricks quickly in their skating career, but once they do, boy oh boy, are they ever strong. And in Canada, and in Ontario, we can actually talk about a couple ladies like that we all know. One is who has just recently, retired from competitive skating, Michelle Long. Michelle Long, was, for all intents and purposes, a late bloomer in skating. Another young skater, from just a few years ago back to like 2006, earning, a spot towards the Olympics back then, was Leslie Hawker, who as well
Yeah.
was a late bloomer in skating. So I just don't like how some will count out a person if they haven't achieved something athletically by a certain age. And I feel very badly about that because I just think to myself, that's not right. That's just not right on so many different levels.
I think that, the science is interesting because the science, tells us part of the story for sure. And, like, even if I wanted to be on America's Next Top Models, I don't have the body type for it. So you got to sort of have science factor into some of this. That's for sure. And that's what, the long-term development plans are all about. But what it can't account for is heart and desire. When I think about it, I think Emmanuel Sandu told me he didn't start skating until he was like 12, and reached the top of the skating heap, certainly artistically and with some brilliant programs along the way. So I think that there needs to be some allowance, as you said, for those skaters who are late bloomers who, for whatever reason, didn't come to the sport at the time that would be optimum. Because I think optimum, is science based for sure, and all of those guidelines need to be sort of looked at and factored into the conversation. But I really believe, like you, it can't be the only thing. I have these conversations, have had with Debbie Wilkes, Olympic medalist, world silver medalist, pair skater. She's tall. Okay, by regular human standards, not really tall, but by standards for pairs, very tall, like 5'8", 5'9", which was considered very tall back in the day. She always says when she gives speeches, nobody told her that she wasn't perfectly suited to pairs. So I think that, you see a kid get on the ice and you see that they have passion for the sport and they work hard and, they develop good technique. They've had good coaching and all of those things. I think that we need to not be so quick to write people off. What do you think, Maz?
Absolutely. And I think on top of that, you just mentioned Deb, okay, Wilksey. So I
Yep.
think what's so interesting is that it doesn't necessarily work the same way for the men because,
Yeah.
the men trying to do those triples and quads, they need to have their body almost, fully developed and gone through puberty in order for them to have that strength to be able to do those elements. And I think that it's almost like an unfair and unjust, rationale to think that if a young lady hasn't necessarily achieved those tricks per se in skating at by a certain age, that we then count them out. But then you take a look, for instance, let's just talk into the one discipline that we haven't mentioned yet about this, and that's ice dancing. And in ice
Yeah.
dancing, you want those kids, to be a little bit more aware, a little bit more mature, a little bit have a better understanding as to what does the blues dance actually signify? What does the Starlight Waltz want you to try to feel? The Viennese Waltz. That they need that life lesson behind them, and they need that life maturity behind them. To be able to really fulfill what's expected of them on the ice. What do you think?
Well, you know what? I agree with you 100%, maturity and ice dance. Although I have to say, I saw some very, very sweet younger ice dancers
Oh,
at Provincials, and they
provincials.
were just so much fun to watch, honestly. But I think that, as I said, we have to adopt a balanced approach in everything that we do in the sport, from making the sport accessible, from making the sport diverse, from making the sport safe. I mean, there are all kinds of things that have to be addressed. And you also can't be sure of the kinds of physical challenges that any one skater is going to have, from growth spurts. Very often the boys, as they're transitioning from boys to men, they just, have this enormous growth spurt and it throws balance off. For young women, it's the same. So, not to mention possible injuries. So, I just think we have to be patient. We have to, be aware of the science, but we also have to really help develop and nurture the athletes with their own desires. I always used to say to my skaters when I was coaching, it's not up to me to decide how far you're going to go. It's kind of up to, whatever, the heavens to figure it out, but also it's determined partly by your own work ethic. So, work ethic, I think, is a big one.
I agree. I agree. And on that note, you know what? Mic drop to that.
This has been another On Thin Ice for Skate Ontario. We're always so happy to have you join us for this particular segment. We try and talk about, we try and address a topical notion, topical question each week. If you have a suggestion, just reach out to us on social media. We're always willing and interested in the topics that you'd like to hear us address. Okay, Maz, it's that time of day. And that is to talk about our social media. We want everybody to make sure that you follow us on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And just make sure that you connect with us. We really love hearing from you. We're going to have another 3-turn-3 episode next week. Charlene, we're pulling for you. It's just not the same without you. Final words from you, Maz.
Listen, final words. Always great being able to spend time with you and talk about what we both love, which is skating. Charlene, feel better. We miss you. Take care.
Bye for now, everybody.
Bye-bye.